The galaxy is vast, older than the stars we can see. Whole civilizations rise and fall like the tides, yet among them, only a few have ever dared to reach beyond their own arrogance. The Council of Varn had ruled for millennia, a collection of the most advanced species in the known clusters, their power unquestioned, their influence unchallenged. And yet, there was one planet they had all but ignored, a small blue world, teeming with life, spinning quietly at the edge of the Sol system. Earth. It was not that they knew nothing of it. Sensors had long recorded the planet's signals, its radio emissions, its scattered probes, its faint chaotic bursts of energy. But the Council's scholars dismissed it. Primitive, inconsequential, unworthy of attention. In the grand chamber of the Varn, species from 100 worlds gathered. Light shimmered off chitinous carapaces, metallic limbs, translucent membranes. The air vibrated with tension and the unspoken rule. None may challenge the Council's judgment. The discussion was brief, almost perfunctory. Earth's development is too slow, said the overseer Vrika, her voice like a chorus of wind through crystal. Their planet remains confined. Their weapons are primitive. Their civilizations fracture endlessly. They are irrelevant. A chorus of agreement rippled through the hall. Then we ignore it, added the Arbiter Kell, his shadowy form stretching unnaturally across the chamber floor. Focus on sectors where progress aligns with our vision. Let Earth fade unnoticed, a trivial experiment in isolation. The decision was made. No mission would approach, no fleet would intervene. Earth was unworthy, a trivial footnote in a galaxy defined by calculated supremacy. Yet, in that very dismissal, the seeds of hubris were sown. The humans, oblivious to the Council's judgment, carried on with their small triumphs. They built satellites, explored their moon, whispered messages into the dark. They did not know the galaxy was watching, and perhaps that was why they were so dangerous. On Earth, Captain Mara Voss watched the night sky from the command deck of the ISS Freedom. The station was humanity's crown jewel of ingenuity, a testament to what collaboration, daring, and relentless curiosity could achieve. "Another quiet night," she said, her tone light, but with a hint of awe. "Nothing but stars out there." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ryan Chen, chuckled softly. "Quiet for now. You know how the cosmos has a habit of surprising us." Mara smiled but did not answer. Her eyes traced the faint glimmer of distant satellites, the soft hum of Earth's magnetic field shielding them from the void. Somewhere out there, the galaxy judged their existence as unworthy. Somewhere out there, species older, stronger, and infinitely more advanced looked at Earth and saw nothing. It was exactly what made humanity dangerous. Meanwhile, in orbit above a distant star, the Varn fleets gathered, enormous ships of polished alloys and flowing energy, weapons calibrated to annihilate planets, thrusters capable of bending light itself. They were preparing a demonstration, a show of power, a reminder that all species had their place in the galaxy. And as they plotted their trajectory, they considered Earth, briefly, as a potential observation point, a curiosity at best. Admiral Thriel, commander of the Varn's Second Fleet, observed the star charts projected in the hollow space before him. "Earth is weak," he stated almost to himself. "Its systems could not withstand a single strike. It is a toy, nothing more." "Then why the hesitation?" asked his subordinate, a winged creature named Ilkar. "Every simulation confirms our superiority. Why do you pause?" Thriel's eyes remained fixed on the blue dot in the simulation. "I sense anomaly. Human ingenuity has a way of unexpected resistance, but it is negligible. Still, mark them, observe, no need to intervene, not yet." And with that, the fleet continued its maneuvers, a ballet of confidence and untested assumptions. Back on Earth, the first hints of the rising conflict were subtle, almost poetic. An unusual asteroid cluster, seemingly ordinary, was detected entering the outer solar system. Observatories across the world noted the anomaly, the whispers of odd trajectory rippling through scientific forums. No one suspected it carried a message, not from a friend, but from a galaxy that had already decided humanity was irrelevant. Dr. Lina Cortez, a leading astrophysicist at the Global Space Observatory, was the first to notice something peculiar. "Captain Voss," she said over the secure line, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. "This isn't a natural cluster. There are patterns, signatures, deliberate ones. Someone or something is sending a signal." Mara's eyes narrowed. "How far out?" 3 billion kilometers, but it's accelerating, and it's heading toward Earth. The first tremors of recognition began. The humans understood the magnitude, though the Council did not. Their plans, their dismissals, their arrogance, it all hung in the balance. From the Council's perspective, the humans remained insignificant. They monitored the incoming anomaly with detached curiosity, expecting to see a minor probe, perhaps a primitive drone. The Council was certain that, should Earth ever interfere, it would be crushed easily, its people relegated to oblivion. Yet the humans, unaware of the full scope of the galaxy's disdain, began to act. Teams of scientists, engineers, and pilots worked together in ways the Varn could not fathom. Their ingenuity was improvisational, unpredictable. They repurposed satellites into early warning systems. They synchronized their communications with daring precision. And somewhere, quietly, the humans began to prepare. The first signs of human strength were subtle. The Council could not see the threads weaving together, the small acts of brilliance, the intuition that defied prediction, the courage that rose quietly in the face of ignorance. Lieutenant Chen, staring at the tactical maps of the incoming anomaly, whispered to Mara, "We're going to need every trick we've got." "And then some." Mara nodded. "Then let's make sure they regret ever calling us irrelevant." At this point, the story begins its ascent. The galaxy expects insignificance. Humans, in their relentless, unpredictable way, are about to prove that even in the face of overwhelming dismissal, they can command not just survival, but the awe of the stars themselves. The first act closes as Earth's orbit is shadowed by strange lights, the anomaly now unmistakably artificial. Across the Council's fleets, sensors blare warnings that they do not fully understand. And somewhere, deep in the void, humanity begins to act, not with fleets, not with empires, but with courage, brilliance, and the audacity to defy expectation. For the first time, the galaxy will have to pay attention. The anomaly loomed closer. To the casual eye, it might have appeared as a comet, a harmless cluster of rocks drifting in space. But humans, trained to notice the subtle, to read the faintest tremor in a signal, recognized it for what it truly was, a messenger, and not one of peace. On Earth, global alert systems blared softly in control rooms and observatories. Screens flickered with streams of data, patterns, frequencies, energy readings that hinted at intent, intelligence, and a reach far beyond humanity's understanding. Dr. Lina Cortez stood at the helm of the Global Space Observatory, her eyes wide but steady. Beside her, Captain Mara Voss and Lieutenant Rian Chen debated their next steps, their voices calm but charged with urgency. "This isn't just reconnaissance," Cortez said, tapping a series of readings. "It's an assessment. Someone, or something, is studying us, judging us, and whatever it is, it's powerful, far more powerful than anything we've faced." Mara's hands hovered over the console. "Then we act. We don't wait to see if they make the first move. We show them who we are." Ryan leaned closer, tracing trajectories on a holographic display. "We can't fight them head-on. Not with conventional means, but maybe we don't have to. Humanity survives by thinking differently, by bending the rules others assume are fixed." And so they began. The first human response was subtle, almost invisible. Satellites were rerouted, not as weapons, but as sensors. Earth's network of communications became a single intelligent mesh, watching, listening, predicting. Using nothing more than ingenuity and a deep understanding of physics, humans transformed their planet into a node of awareness. It was not the Council's expectation. From the Varn perspective, humans were insignificant, incapable of coordinated strategy on the scale that mattered. They expected chaos, confusion, panic. Instead, they were met with precision, calculation, and a kind of raw intuition that no simulation could predict. Deep in orbit above the Earth, the ISS Freedom became a command post, coordinating orbital drones, satellites, and human teams across the planet. Engineers modified existing spacecraft into rapid response platforms, turning even the smallest shuttle into a tool of extraordinary utility. Every act, every adjustment, displayed a combination of audacity and intellect that the galaxy had long dismissed as improbable. Meanwhile, in the Council's chambers, unease began to ripple. Overseer Vrika noticed the anomaly's readings changing. "It is adapting," she murmured, almost disbelieving. "Its trajectory, its energy patterns, they are shifting in response to our scans." Kel's shadowed form recoiled slightly. "Impossible. They cannot respond this quickly. Their technology should be trivial, predictable. Yet, it alters its course as if aware." "Perhaps it is mere chaos," Thriel suggested, "a random effect of natural systems. But, on the ISS Freedom, Captain Mara Voss looked out at the void, the Earth glowing beneath her. "They think we're irrelevant," she said softly. "Let's make them reconsider." Lieutenant Chen smiled, tension in his shoulders giving way to something heavier, fiercer. "We always do." And in that moment, the humans weren't just surviving. They were defining themselves, not in terms the galaxy had dictated, but in their own image, resilient, inventive, and unyielding. The galaxy, for all its power and pride, was about to witness something it had never expected. The humans' orchestration reached its zenith. Earth, once considered insignificant, had become a hub of ingenuity, a web of intelligence spanning orbit and surface, linking every observatory, laboratory, and spacecraft into a single coordinated entity. The Council watched in stunned silence as the anomaly, a massive construct of unknown origin, slowed its approach, almost hesitant as if confronted with something it could not predict. The humans had anticipated every pattern it could produce. Every move was countered before it happened, every thrust deflected, every signal intercepted and transformed into something useful. This is impossible," whispered Kel, the Arbiter, his voice trembling. "They should have been crushed. Their planet, their people, all irrelevant." "They are not irrelevant," Vrika said, her tone low, almost reverent. "They are extraordinary." The Council's fleets, stationed light-years away, had long prepared for confrontation. Massive warships, weapons capable of annihilating planets, waited in formation. Yet as their sensors registered the humans' maneuvers, the confidence of millennia faltered. The humans had no fleet, no superweapons. Yet every potential strategy the Council could employ had already been anticipated, neutralized, or rendered irrelevant. Admiral Thriel, whose entire career had been built on the assumption that power alone dictated outcomes, felt the weight of disbelief settle in. They've outmaneuvered our predictions," he said. "Not with force, not with numbers, with thought, with ingenuity." Vrika finished for him. "Humans have weaponized their creativity, their courage, their humanity." The word hung in the chamber, heavy with revelation. On Earth, the final act of defiance unfolded not as a battle, but as a testament to human will. The anomaly had halted at the edge of the solar system, its purpose revealed not as a destroyer, but as an observer, a probe sent to measure, to categorize, to test. The humans, using every tool at their disposal, turned that observation back upon the Council's expectations. Dr. Lena Cortez addressed the team across global communications hubs. "We've done it. We've turned their test into proof. proof that Earth is not irrelevant. Captain Mara Voss looked out at the planet glowing beneath her, the soft blue of oceans, the swirl of clouds, the faint sparkle of city lights. "It's not about defeating them," she said quietly. "It's about showing them what humanity truly is." Lieutenant Chen smiled, a mixture of pride and awe. "And they will understand, whether they want to or not." The anomaly, designed to observe weakness, recorded something it had never encountered. Coordination without hierarchy, intuition without precedent, creativity without constraint. It transmitted these findings to the Varn Council. Its signals dissected, analyzed, and yet misunderstood. The human's brilliance could not be measured by conventional metrics. Every calculation made by the Council fell short. Every simulation collapsed under the unpredictability of human thought. Frika finally stood, her many eyes focused on the display. They have done what no other species has done. They have commanded the stars without fleets. Without fleets. They have survived, adapted, and outmaneuvered our assumptions. Earth, humans. They are not irrelevant. They are magnificent. Across the council, whispers turned to awe, awe to humility. Generations of arrogance built upon certainty were crumbling in the face of something the galaxy had long dismissed. Every member felt it, the weight of being wrong, of having underestimated a species that refused to conform to the rules of prediction. "They are humans," Thriel said, his voice almost unrecognizable. "And for the first time, I understand what that means." Kel, whose species had long prided itself on control and discipline, shook his shadowed form. "We have judged them with arrogance, dismissed them with certainty, and yet they have redefined every assumption we held." The Council, the very embodiment of the galaxy's authority, could do nothing but watch and acknowledge the truth. Humans, in their chaos, their unpredictability, their audacity, had achieved the impossible. Back on Earth, life returned to its quiet rhythm. Humanity did not parade its victory. They did not launch fleets to assert dominance. They continued to explore, to learn, to create, to reach outward with curiosity and courage. And yet, the galaxy had already recognized their accomplishment. Messages arrived from distant stars, encoded and indirect, signaling respect, awe, even caution. Species that had once ignored Earth now paused, reconsidered, calculated, and realized that they had been wrong to dismiss a small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy. Mara Voss spoke to her team one last time in orbit. "We didn't win because we were the strongest," she said. "We didn't win because we had the biggest weapons, or the fastest ships, or the most advanced technology. We won because we refused to accept the limits they imposed on us. We acted, we thought, we dared, and in doing so, we became more than what they expected." Lieutenant Chen, ever the pragmatist, nodded. "We were irrelevant to them, until we weren't." The final chapter unfolded not in explosions or conquest, but in recognition. Across the Council's fleets, across the vast stretches of the galaxy, the story of Earth and its people spread. It became legend, whispered in awe by species that had once prided themselves on superiority. They spoke of humans not as conquerors, but as beings capable of redefining expectation, of bending reality with nothing more than ingenuity, courage, and audacity. The anomaly, its purpose fulfilled, drifted silently past Earth, recording final data. It transmitted its findings to the Varn Council one last time. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are audacious. Humans are magnificent. And then at last, the Council understood. Not in theory, not in speculation, not in arrogance, but in the undeniable reality of human achievement. Earth, once irrelevant, had commanded attention. Humans, once dismissed, had commanded respect. And the galaxy, in all its vastness, had witnessed something extraordinary. In quiet, reflective tones, Vrika addressed her peers. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. Earth continued its slow spin in the void, unaware of the full scope of its triumph. Humanity went about its work, exploring, discovering, creating, its genius and courage quietly shaping the future. And yet, the galaxy now looked upon them differently. Respect, awe, and cautious admiration replaced the arrogance that had once dismissed them. The story of Earth, of humans, was no longer a footnote. It was a testament to what a species could achieve when it refused to accept irrelevance. And in the quiet moments, beneath the glow of stars, the humans who had acted so boldly understood something themselves, that the true measure of greatness is not the recognition of others, but the courage to defy expectation and embrace possibility. The galaxy is vast, older than the stars we can see. Civilizations rise and fall like tides, and yet, only a few have ever dared to reach beyond their own arrogance. Among them, one planet had been quietly ignored, a small blue world at the edge of the Sol system. Earth. The Council of Varn ruled for millennia, the most advanced species in the known clusters, their power unquestioned, their influence absolute. And yet, they saw Earth as irrelevant. Sensors had long recorded the planet's signals, radio bursts, probes, strange energy patterns, but the Council's scholars dismissed it. Primitive, inconsequential, unworthy. In the grand chamber of the Varn, species from 100 worlds gathered. Chitinous exoskeletons glimmered. Metallic limbs caught the light. Translucent membranes rippled like liquid glass. "The planet's development is too slow," Overseer Vrika said, her voice like wind through crystal. "Their weapons are primitive. Their civilizations fracture endlessly. They are irrelevant." A chorus of agreement rippled through the chamber. "Then ignore it," Arbiter Kell added. "Focus elsewhere. Let Earth fade unnoticed." The decision was made. No fleet, no intervention. Earth was written off, but in that very dismissal, the seeds of hubris were sown. On Earth, humans carried on. Quietly, fearlessly, they built satellites, explored their moon, whispered messages into the void. They had no idea the galaxy was watching. Captain Mara Voss stood on the ISS Freedom. Her gaze traced the faint glow of Earth's city lights. "Another quiet night," she said. Her tone carried awe. Lieutenant Rian Chen smirked. "Quiet for now. You know how the cosmos has a habit of surprising us." Mara smiled. She did know. Somewhere out there the galaxy deemed them irrelevant. Somewhere, species older, stronger, smarter, looked at Earth and saw nothing. And that was exactly what made humanity dangerous. No fleet, no conquest, no empire. Only courage, creativity, and the refusal to accept irrelevance. Captain Voss looked down at Earth, glowing softly. "We didn't win because we were the strongest. We won because we refused to accept the limits others imposed on us," Chen added quietly. "We were irrelevant until we weren't." And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. Outro. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars. The anomaly drifted silently into the void, its mission complete. The Council had received the final transmissions, every data point and observation parsed, analyzed, and still not fully understood. Humans had turned the tables. They had taken a test designed to measure weakness and instead displayed brilliance, creativity, and courage. The galaxy paused. For eons, it had assumed that order, hierarchy, and overwhelming power determined success. But now, on the quiet blue planet at the edge of the Sol system, an entirely different truth had revealed itself. Adaptability, imagination, and audacity were forces no one could easily predict. In the Varn Council chambers, the atmosphere was heavy with awe. Species accustomed to centuries of unquestioned authority could only watch as simulations failed, models collapsed, and centuries of assumptions crumbled in real time. Vrika, the overseer, finally broke the silence. Her voice was soft but carried the weight of revelation. "They are human," she said, "and for the first time we have no words that do justice to what they have accomplished. Their planet, their species, it is a force unlike any we have seen." Kel, the arbiter whose entire species thrived on logic and control, paced slowly. "We assumed irrelevance would suffice. We assumed weakness. We assumed predictability. All of it wrong. Every assumption was wrong. They do not operate by our rules, or even by the rules of survival we understand." Thriel, the admiral, rested his claws on the observation deck railing. His eyes, usually cold and calculating, now reflected something closer to wonder. "We cannot match them with fleets, or weapons, or technology. Not in the way we have always thought. They redefine the very meaning of power." For the first time in history, the Council did not speak of domination. They spoke of understanding. On Earth, the humans scarcely noticed the waves of astonishment radiating through the galaxy. They were busy rebuilding, studying, and planning the next steps. Humanity did not claim victory with warships or colonies. Their triumph was subtle, almost invisible to any observer expecting grand gestures. It was in the ingenuity of a satellite redirected mid-flight, in the courage of a young engineer improvising a solution in real time, in the relentless curiosity that refused to accept limits. Captain Mara Voss stood on the observation deck of the ISS Freedom, gazing at the planet below. Her mind wandered across the expanse of the solar system, imagining the countless stars beyond. "We've done more than survive," she said quietly. "We've shown the galaxy who we are, and we've done it without firing a single shot." Lieutenant Chen, ever practical, tilted his head and smiled. "Not a shot, not a fleet, not a monument. Just us, doing what humans do best, thinking, adapting, and refusing to accept what others tell us is impossible." Dr. Cortez leaned against the railing, her eyes reflecting the blue planet. "And yet, they will remember. Every civilization that watched, every fleet, every council member, they will remember Earth now. We are no longer irrelevant." The three of them stood in silence, absorbing the weight of what had been accomplished, not for glory, not for power, but because humanity, in its audacity and brilliance, had simply refused to be dismissed. The galaxy responded slowly, almost cautiously. Ships that had once patrolled with the arrogance of superiority now lingered at the edges of known space, observing the small planet. Ambassadors and envoys reached out, not to conquer, not to demand tribute, but to understand. Species that had considered humans primitive now approached with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and caution. Some emissaries arrived with questions, others with gifts of knowledge, maps, and treaties. Every message was laced with awe. Every communication carried a quiet acknowledgement. Humanity had exceeded expectation, and the galaxy would never again assume irrelevance. Even the anomaly, drifting silently now beyond the outer planets, continued to transmit its final data. It had catalogued human behavior, ingenuity, and courage with precision. Its final message was simple. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are audacious. Humans are magnificent. The story of Earth was no longer a footnote. It was a testament, a promise, a reminder that no species, no council, and no expectation could ever define what humanity might achieve. And in the silence of space, across the expanse of stars, one thought resonated. Humanity will act. Humanity will endure. Humanity will rise. The galaxy had changed, not overnight, not with fire or conquest, but with a quiet, undeniable truth. Humans could not be dismissed. From the farthest reaches of known space, civilizations recalculated their assumptions. Every fleet, every council, every scholar realized that human ingenuity could not be measured, predicted, or constrained. To underestimate humanity was no longer just an error. It was dangerous. And yet, on Earth, life continued in its ordinary, extraordinary way. Children played under the glow of city lights. Satellites hummed silently above. Scientists and engineers tinkered in labs, exploring problems both mundane and cosmic. Humanity did not flaunt its triumph. It acted quietly, deliberately, persistently. Captain Mara Voss gazed up at the stars from a research station orbiting Mars. The red planet glimmered below, terraforming efforts slowly reshaping its surface. She thought of Earth, of the ISS Freedom, of the engineers, scientists, and pilots who had defied expectation. "They will remember us," she whispered, "not for weapons, not for fleets, but for courage, for ingenuity, for refusing to accept limits." Lieutenant Rian Chen beside her nodded. "And they'll remember that humans act when others falter. That's what makes us dangerous and remarkable." Dr. Lena Cortez joined them, her eyes reflecting the faint shimmer of distant stars. "It's not about dominating. It's about shaping the future through thought, action, and imagination. That is humanity's true strength." Across the galaxy, fleets that had once looked down upon Earth paused in their patrols. The Council of Varn, still reeling from the revelation, issued new directives. No longer would they dismiss planets as irrelevant. No longer would they assume predictable outcomes. Vrika, the overseer, spoke to the assembly with a voice both solemn and awed. "For centuries we judged by strength, by fleets, by weapons. We believed control was absolute. But one species, confined to a single planet, has shown us the limits of our certainty. Humanity is incomparable." Kel, the arbiter, leaned closer, his shadowed form shifting with hesitation. "We measured power by conformity. We measured survival by compliance. We ignored ingenuity, courage, and audacity. We ignored humanity." Thriel, the admiral, finally allowed a small, genuine smile. "And in doing so, we learned what it truly means to underestimate a species. Not their technology, not their numbers, their will, their mind, their heart." Back on Earth, humanity did not sit idle. The anomaly's data, decrypted and studied, offered glimpses of possibilities beyond their solar system. Mars bases, asteroid colonies, orbital laboratories, all began to expand. Humans were careful, thoughtful, methodical, yet bold in their ambition. "We've been given a second chance," Cortez said during a global briefing. "A chance to explore, to learn, to shape the stars, and we will. But we will do it as humans, intelligent, curious, audacious humans." Captain Voss smiled faintly. "We will act with courage, yes, but also with restraint. The galaxy has learned to watch us. Let's show them why we are worth watching." Lieutenant Chen added, "We've shown them brilliance. Now we need to show them wisdom." The galaxy's response to humanity's triumph was uneven, yet profound. Some civilizations approached with cautious admiration, some with curiosity, some, long arrogant, had no choice but to respect Earth's ingenuity. Even the fleets stationed in distant systems could not ignore the lessons of the anomaly. Humans had mastered adaptation, improvisation, and courage in ways that no simulation could predict. Reports flowed into the Varn Council, slow at first, then increasing in intensity. Across the void, species debated, argued, and reflected. Strategies were rewritten. Philosophies were challenged. And the central truth remained unshakable. Humans were extraordinary. For the first time, the galaxy understood that strength was not measured by fleets alone. Intelligence alone was not enough. Power alone was not decisive. Adaptability, courage, creativity, and audacity, the hallmarks of humanity, could redefine the very rules of engagement. In the quiet corridors of the ISS Freedom, Mara Voss reflected on what they had accomplished. The anomaly, the fleets, the tests. It had all been a stage for something greater than conflict. It had been a test of humanity's essence. "We didn't need to conquer," she said softly. "We didn't need to dominate. We only needed to show who we are. Chen, observing Earth through the viewport, nodded. And that was enough. That is enough. Cortez smiled. The galaxy will remember. But more importantly, we will remember. We will carry forward this lesson, that the human spirit cannot be predicted or dismissed. From the edges of the galaxy, ships recorded human activity. Scholars cataloged behavior. Pilots transmitted reports of ingenuity and courage that defied conventional logic. Every test, every calculation, every prediction failed to anticipate what humans would do next. The species became a legend in real time, whispered among fleets, repeated in council chambers, and recorded in data archives across light years of space. Even the anomaly, drifting silently into deep space, continued to transmit its observations. Its final message was simple. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are audacious. Humans are magnificent. And the galaxy at last understood. On Earth, humanity continued its quiet revolution among the stars. Mars terraforming advanced. Lunar bases expanded. Satellites formed intricate networks for science, communication, and observation. Every human effort, no matter how small, was a continuation of the audacity that had first defied the anomaly. Captain Voss spoke to a gathering of explorers and scientists. We act because we must. We explore because it is in our nature. We defy expectations because the galaxy will always assume limits exist, and we will show them that the only true limits are the ones we accept ourselves. Lieutenant Chen added, the galaxy will watch, and it will learn, but it will never fully predict what humans will do next. Dr. Cortez concluded, we are remarkable not because we are strong, but because we refuse to be irrelevant. That is our legacy. That is our duty. Across the void, civilizations adjusted their understanding. Humans were no longer an anomaly. They were a force to be reckoned with, not through fleets or empires, but through intellect, courage, and audacity. Every observer, every envoy, every fleet commander recognized the same truth. Earth and its people had changed the galaxy's perception of possibility. Even the Varn, long accustomed to control and supremacy, were humbled. Vrika spoke in reflection. For centuries, we believed power was absolute. But we have seen another kind of power, not measured by weapons or conquest, measured by mind, will, and courage. Humanity embodies it. Kale added, we cannot predict them. We cannot control them. And yet, we are compelled to respect them. Thriel's voice was quieter, reflective. For the first time, I see the stars differently. Because Earth has taught us that possibility is limitless, if one refuses to be bound by expectation. On Earth, the ordinary became extraordinary. Children looked at the night sky and dreamed without limitation. Scientists pondered problems the galaxy had never considered. Engineers constructed ideas that defied logic. Humanity's audacity had become the standard of inspiration. Captain Voss gazed at the horizon from a Martian colony. We did not act for glory. We did not act for power. We acted because it is who we are. And now the galaxy knows it too. Chen smiled. They'll remember us. And one day, they might try to emulate us. But they will never be human. Dr. Cortez added softly, and that is the point. We are not defined by imitation. We are defined by audacity, curiosity, and the courage to act when others hesitate. The stars themselves seem to recognize humanity's triumph. No longer merely a planet among billions, Earth had become a symbol of potential, of resilience, of defiance. The galaxy, vast and ancient, had witnessed something extraordinary. A species that refused irrelevance, a species that commanded attention not through aggression but through ingenuity, courage, and spirit. And in the quiet of space, across the light years of distance, one truth resonated. Humanity would endure, humanity would explore, and humanity would rise. The Council of Varn, the fleets of distant civilizations, even the drifting anomaly, everything in the galaxy had learned it. Humans were magnificent, humans were audacious, Humans were unstoppable. Final reflection. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. Outro. Optional narration cue. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars. Decades passed, and the ripples of Earth's audacity traveled further into the galaxy than anyone could have predicted. Civilizations that had once ignored or dismissed humanity now studied them, debated them, and adapted in response. Earth's influence was subtle, almost invisible, but undeniable. Humans did not conquer with fleets. They did not dominate with weapons. Their power was in creativity, courage, and ingenuity, forces the galaxy had long underestimated. And these forces reshaped the cosmos in ways both immediate and profound. In distant systems, scholars chronicled the rise of humanity with a mixture of fear and awe. They are unlike any species we have catalogued, one Varn archivist whispered to a fellow historian. Their choices cannot be predicted. Their solutions cannot be modeled. Their courage is immeasurable. Immeasurable, yes, the other replied, and contagious. Witness the colonies, the innovations, the diplomacy. Humanity commands attention not through force, but through action. The galaxy had learned something fundamental. Power is not only measured in fleets or weapons, but in the audacity to act, the brilliance to innovate, and the courage to defy expectation. On Earth and across the solar system, humans continued to push boundaries. Mars colonies flourished. Lunar cities sparkled beneath a pale sky. Orbital laboratories stretched further into the void. Every mission, every probe, every innovation reflected a simple truth. Humans would not remain irrelevant. Captain Mara Voss oversaw the expansion of orbital defense and research platforms. Her hair floated lightly in zero gravity as she watched engineers coordinate the deployment of a new series of satellites. "We're building more than infrastructure," she said softly. "We're building proof. Proof that humans refuse to be defined by expectation, weakness, or dismissal." Lieutenant Ryan Chen leaned on a console, his eyes tracing the patterns of orbital drones. Proof for the galaxy, and for ourselves. Dr. Lena Cortez adjusted a series of instruments on the observation deck. And it's working. Every system, every mission, every project we launch confirms the principle that humanity is not irrelevant. It is exceptional. Even the Council of Varn, once the arbiters of power, could not ignore Earth's legacy. Every member of the Council had seen, in the anomaly's data, the improvisational genius of humans. They had seen the courage of a species willing to risk everything for knowledge, for survival, and for curiosity. Vrika addressed her peers in the chamber, her voice measured, her tone reverent. For centuries, we measured civilizations by fleets, weapons, and compliance. Humanity has shown us another measure, one we did not expect, one we cannot ignore. They are extraordinary. Kel, the arbiter, added quietly. Their influence is not violent nor coercive, yet the galaxy bends around them. Every system that observes them recalculates. Every council that once ignored them now regards them with respect. They have redefined what it means to matter. Thriel, still incredulous, spoke last. "I once believed fleets, numbers, and weapons dictated power. They do not. Humanity has shown that the mind, courage, and ingenuity can command as effectively as any fleet, perhaps more so." On Earth, humans continued their quiet revolution. Children gazed at the stars, dreaming impossible dreams. Students designed spacecraft that seemed to defy physics. Engineers and scientists solved problems no one else could even conceive. Humanity's growth was exponential, not in numbers alone, but in understanding, imagination, and audacity. Captain Voss addressed a new generation of explorers, her voice steady and inspiring. "You are the ones who will continue what we began, not because you are told to, not because you must, but because it is your nature to explore, to challenge, to create. You are human, and that is enough to change the galaxy. Chen added, "Remember, the galaxy does not know what to expect from us. That is our greatest strength. It always has been and always will be." Cortez concluded, "Innovation, courage, audacity, these are human traits. Use them, and the stars will follow." The galaxy responded in ways subtle but profound. Trade routes were extended to Earth. Scholars from distant systems arrived to learn from humans. Fleets no longer approached with the assumption of superiority. Diplomats came not with demands, but with questions, curiosity, and respect. Even those who had once ignored humanity were forced to recognize it as a pivotal presence. Humans had demonstrated that influence does not require coercion or destruction. It only requires the audacity to act boldly, to innovate, and to refuse irrelevance. A young diplomat from a distant star system reflected aloud. They act as if the galaxy exists to be understood, not to be dominated. And in doing so, they command it more than any fleet ever could. Across the solar system, humans expanded their reach carefully and thoughtfully. Mars terraforming programs advanced. Lunar colonies matured into self-sufficient cities. Orbital research hubs mapped the solar system with precision and ingenuity. Every project was a testament to the principle that humanity would not be defined by the expectations of others. Captain Voss, walking the corridors of the Martian research colony, spoke to the assembled crew. "We act because we are human. We explore because curiosity drives us. We defy expectations because the universe assumes limits we do not accept. And that is how we lead, not through fear, but through brilliance." Lieutenant Chen added, "The galaxy will observe, and it will learn, but it will never truly predict us. That is our gift, and our responsibility." Dr. Cortez, gazing at the red horizon, said softly, "We were once irrelevant. Now, we are essential, not through power, but through audacity, ingenuity, and courage. That is the legacy we leave behind." The anomaly, long gone from the inner solar system, continued to drift through the void. Its final message lingered across galactic channels. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are audacious. Humans are magnificent. And the galaxy, vast and ancient, finally understood. Humanity had commanded attention without conquest. They had inspired awe without aggression. They had redefined the expectations of entire civilizations with nothing more than courage, ingenuity, and imagination. Across the stars, fleets recorded human achievements. Councils cataloged behavior that defied prediction. Scholars debated strategies inspired by a species that refused to be constrained. Every record confirmed the same truth. Humans are extraordinary. On Earth, humans did not pause to savor recognition. They continued to explore. They continued to imagine. Every child gazing at the stars, every engineer solving an impossible problem, every scientist dreaming beyond the horizon, carried forward the same audacity that had first defied the Council's expectations. Captain Voss observed a new generation of astronauts preparing for a mission to the outer planets. They will do what we could not yet imagine, and they will do it because they are human, and humanity will endure. Lieutenant Chen added, "We've shown the galaxy what humans can do. Now it's up to the next generation to show what humans will do." Dr. Cortez smiled. "We were once dismissed. We were once irrelevant. Now, we are a force not to be ignored. That is the essence of being human." In the council chambers, decades after the anomaly's first encounter, Vrika addressed her peers once more. "For centuries, we assumed power was fleets, weapons, and compliance. Humanity has shown us another truth. Ingenuity, courage, and audacity are forces that cannot be measured, predicted, or ignored. They have reshaped the galaxy not by aggression, but by being themselves." Kell nodded solemnly. "We were wrong to underestimate them. And in that mistake, we learned a lesson the galaxy will never forget." Thriel added quietly, "The stars themselves have shifted. not physically but in understanding. Humanity commands attention without demand, inspires without force, and shapes the future by simply refusing irrelevance. Across the cosmos, human influence grew, not as conquerors, not as overlords, but as exemplars of possibility. Trade, science, exploration, diplomacy, all carried the signature of human audacity. Humanity had proven that even a single species from a small blue planet could command respect across light years, not by overwhelming strength, but by brilliance, courage, and will. And as Earth continued its slow, graceful orbit, its people looked outward with the same curiosity and determination that had defined them for millennia. They had turned irrelevance into influence. They had turned expectation into astonishment. And in the quiet expanse of space, one truth resonated across the galaxy. Humanity will act. Humanity will endure. Humanity will rise. Final narration. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human. Outro, optional narration cue. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories from the stars.